פרננה, זו כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, הוא עשנו ולא אנחנו, עמו וצאן מרעיתו, בואו שעריו ותדע חסרו.
A brigadier general chokes on his tears, reciting a prayer for the dead over his own son's funeral. This is the Inspector General of Israel's Ministry of Defense, and his son is just one of 2 soldiers buried in the same cemetery the same afternoon. His daughter Noah stood beside the casket and instead of delivering a eulogy, sang a religious psalm. The funeral was held under home front command restrictions with limited attendance because even the burial site is no longer beyond the reach of war. But here is what makes this more than a tragedy. While those coffins were being lowered into the ground, Israel's chief of staff was standing in front of the security cabinet delivering a warning that should terrify every Israeli citizen. Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir told his government he was raising 10 red flags before the military collapses from within. Not weakens, not struggles, collapses. He demanded emergency conscription laws, extended mandatory service, and reserve legislation, because the reserve system will not hold. Israel is fighting on multiple fronts, and the manpower simply is not there. And the war is no longer contained. Iran struck Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, a Royal Saudi Air Force base also hosting U.S. troops, reportedly wounding 15 American soldiers, 5 of them seriously. Once Iranian missiles are landing on bases with American forces inside Saudi territory, this stops being an Israel-Iran war with spillover. It becomes a direct test of American deterrence across the entire Gulf. And Prince Sultan is not the whole story. The deeper problem for Washington is that this war is no longer something it can simply manage from a distance. American forces are being hit, American logistics are being stretched, and American credibility is being tested in real time. The longer this conflict expands, the harder it becomes for the United States to present itself as a stabilizing power, rather than a power being dragged deeper into a regional war it cannot fully control. Because once U.S. troops are taking casualties, once more forces are being repositioned, and once Gulf allies start questioning whether Washington can actually shield them from the fallout, this is no longer just support for an ally. It becomes strategic entanglement. And entanglement is how wars stop being measured by objectives and start being measured by cost. And then Yemen entered the frame. The Houthis claimed their first missile launch targeting Israeli military sites since the war began. Even if it was intercepted, the significance goes far beyond a single missile. Because now the battlefield is not just expanding in intensity, it is expanding in geography. Iran from the east, Hezbollah from the north, Yemen from the south, all sitting astride the Red Sea. The war is becoming a ring. And the question shifts from whether Israel can defend its cities to whether Washington and its allies can defend every front and every shipping lane at the same time. Former Prime Minister and opposition leader Yair Lapid made that gap public. He accused the Netanyahu government directly of sending the army into a multi-front war with no strategy, no adequate resources, and not enough soldiers. His words were blunt. This time, the government will not be able to say it did not know. And when opposition leaders break wartime consensus to say the war has no plan, you know the fracture goes deep. And that internal fracture is not only political or military, it is economic, social, and increasingly visible in daily life. Israel's losses are no longer measured only in soldiers killed or missiles intercepted. They are measured in homes emptied, businesses disrupted, compensation claims piling up, and families living between sirens and shelter doors. This is what a war of attrition looks like inside a small, densely packed country. Not just spectacular strikes on military targets, but a slow bleed across the home front. The economy absorbs the shock, the public absorbs the fear, and the government absorbs the pressure of sustaining both at once. Wars like this are not decided only by who can hit harder. They are decided by who can endure longer, and endurance is becoming its own battlefield inside Israel.